Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Wrestling with Foam. My name is Jake, and before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Brett, who sometimes wears a beret, with his series of interviews with various familiar faces in the hobby. But with me today, he may not have a familiar face, but he does have some familiar hands. Here we have the bastard himself, Vile Mod, aka Uncle Vile.
Hello.
All right.
How you doing?
Doing all right. So I already said this off stream, but I am a little nervous. But I just want to say, just to be like serious for a moment though, the term that I use, like it's a joke, Uncle Vile. But I want to just let you know, while it is a joke and it is funny, the reason I use that in particular is because I grew up with not much of a father, and I had a lot of uncles, and they kind of showed me what a man is supposed to be and like things to aspire to. And so when I refer to someone as an uncle, it's because I view them with that sort of respect.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, so it is a term of endearment. But you are a bastard, so keep that in mind.
I gotta uphold my standards somehow.
Yeah, and you do say bastard a lot.
We have a counter, so we know that I say it quite enough.
Yeah. Why do you say it so much?
I just always thought it really funny. I can't remember where I heard it from. I know it was from show or something like that. Oh, it's almost like South Park, right? And a lot of times I remember somebody said it more softly and not screaming like they do in South Park, and they just go, "You bastard." And I always just thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
So I just started saying it a lot, and then it just became a counter on my stream, and then the counter just keeps ticking up. So yeah, that's kind of where it just came from. I just thought it was really funny.
What is the counter at right now?
I honestly don't remember. It's close to 1,000. I know that much.
I was gonna say my brain may be exaggerating it, but I feel like 400, and now you're saying 1,000. So.
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else's counter, but I remember mine was quite high. I maybe it's only closer to 500 instead of 1,000. I don't remember.
Right. Well, you do say it a lot, and it is pretty funny. It's interesting to know where that came from, though. But so I quickly just want to talk about your YouTube channel. So you started your YouTube channel 4 years ago. At least that was the first upload. I believe it was a Nerf thrifting video.
Yeah.
I assume you've been in the hobby longer than 4 years, though. So how long exactly have you been in the Nerf hobby?
So 2019 would be the sort of start of it. There's a story about kind of how I actually started in the hobby. I got into this almost by accident. So like it started like in that Christmas basically of 2019, like that holiday season.
Okay.
And then I didn't actually start streaming, I don't believe, until I want to say September. I think it was late. I think I had like 2 streams in August, and then it was like really I started having a schedule by September of 2020.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, so I streamed before I started the YouTube channel, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's sort of like which one came first. It was the streaming started first, and then the YouTube channel came after.
That was a total shot in the dark, by the way. But I had a feeling. Yep. How does this work? No, there goes.
That actually started because of the one person that was in the channel watching me was seeing the thrifting finds I was having, and they were like, "You should do like thrifting videos and all this other stuff." And I was like, "Well, I mean, Chalo does it for the, Captain Xavier channel." Yeah. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then that's kind of what kickstarted the whole YouTube channel.
All right, that's very now your latest video, which latest is a strong word. Over a year ago now, was actually the End Series Infinite mod,
right?
Which I feel was kind of just like sticking it to the people who were like, "Oh, this is going to be terrible." It's like, well,
it was actually if you really want to know, it was a jab at Qualcomm.
Yeah. That's
So we'll kind of, it's like funny. You have to sort of like piece this together to sort of know the story. So I started streaming because Qualcomm stopped streaming and stopped doing mods on his stream.
I remember
Like
those.
he almost completely stopped. I used to have Qualcomm stream on in the background while I was modding something.
Mhm.
And then he just kind of stopped. He stopped both with either streaming, the schedule just kind of got bad, or just didn't mod at all. And I was like, well, I kind of liked having somebody modding something, because a lot of times you're talking about the mod you're doing or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go over to Twitch and do this, because I realized there wasn't a really strong presence of any kind over there.
Right.
So that's what got me started doing that. Then the Infinite thing was, again, sort of a jab at Qualcomm, because I hung out on his stream, or like I was watching when he was looking at the Nerf Infinite,
Right.
because I wanted to see what he was talking about. And he got really mad, really aggravated, and he said, "This thing is unmoddable. It's unmoddable." And I was like, we'll find out. So I went and I modded it. Challenge accepted. So I went and did it, just as a quick little like, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Which is funny, because shortly after, Hawkeye created the half dart mod. So basically between what I did and what Hawkeye did, it became this like half dart little monster of a actually kind of cool blaster.
It's insane. I was there in the stream when you managed to get almost 200 FPS with an N1 dart.
Yeah, it was hitting the first. I think it has to deal with ceiling, because my first shots were like, I get like almost 190. It was like 189 right out the gate.
And it wasn't even
and I was like shocked. I was like, holy crap, that's so much power. And then everything sort of dropped off, and then it kind of leveled out right at like 170, like high 170s, right at low 180s. And I was like, okay, maybe there was just it had better ceiling, and maybe it just doesn't anymore, because the lubricant thinned out a little bit or something. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I remember that, and I just was like, oh, because even when I did the video, I originally, the thumbnail had like 190 FPS, and then I was like, you know what? I don't want people coming at me, because now I can't replicate that. Let's bump it down to 180, just so that way it's a little bit more realistic. Because I hate when people just go with the first high number they found. And I was like, oh boy, if this is going to be consistent, I should put 190, and then I could never replicate it. I was like, I'm not going to get called on that. Let's bump it down.
It's like putting a short dart that weighs 1 gram in your Springer, and it's like, oh wow, this hit 300 FPS. Yeah, but most people don't have a 1 gram dart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have an Infinite. I've actually been meaning to do my own video on that, and I actually fell victim to the hate train of Insers at first, because Hasbro doing Hasbro things.
Yeah, it was very easy to do.
Hasbro doing Hasbro things. We're already accustomed to them kind of like dropping the ball on stuff that has huge potential. Mega XL.
Right.
Yeah. And then I saw Qualcomm stream, and that kind of sealed it for me. So I saw like, oh, there's a moddable, there's this hole in the plunger tube, and it's like, I was like, man, this sucks. Why are they doing this? And then I come to one of your streams, and here you are hitting 200 FPS with just a drill and some hot glue.
Yeah. I thought it did have a little bit of unnecessary hate at the beginning. I think that it's totally acceptable to hate on it now, because my theory is, give it a fair shake. Let them. They've shown their hands. It's like, okay, there's potential here. It's good. The internals are actually phenomenal. Yeah. And I was like, let's see where they go with this. And then we saw 30 Hoard reshells and 7, 8, agility reshells, and it's like, okay, you know what? Hate on them all you want, guys. This is fine now. Like, it's done.
Too soon, and it's been all downhill.
Yeah, it's been downhill, and I thought they had again a bit of a rough start. There was potential there. They had some interesting ideas, and the knowledge. So like the thing about the holes in the plunger tubes, people are always very unfamiliar that those are legitimate. It is literally a speed hole, and those are to help with increasing the speed of the plunger with a weaker spring, so that way they can have similar performance to just putting a heavier spring, which costs a little bit more, because you're talking about pinching pennies across hundreds of thousands of units.
Yeah,
and that information actually came from Blasterface, who is an engineer building blasters. He explained that that's what these are for. Those are legitimately there to help with performance. But when you add a bigger spring, you can close them off. And it was like, yo, no, there's no reason to be mad at it. You just need to understand what the reasoning for it was.
Yeah. Because as it is, the N-Series blasters aren't meant for us. It's meant for like a kid to play with. So, they can get away with a weaker spring, save some money on that, put a hole in the plunger tube, and it'll reach velocity faster because of it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Speed hole is also nothing. I've never heard that term at all before hearing it from you. In fact, I don't think there are even any hobby blasters that utilize that, because I feel there probably is potential to have a hobby blaster hit high FPS with a less powerful spring, but have the speed hole in it, and it'll reach velocity faster. But it'll be a higher FPS.
Worker actually does it. So in the Worker metal plunger tubes that were for the long shot, they actually had a hole in it. And that hole, the entire point of it is that it can vent air while the plunger is getting up to speed, and it prevents the dart from moving too quickly and losing its seal or leaving the breach area too soon.
Yeah.
That is the whole point of it. And it's one of those things that you have to tune. It is a tuning part. So you, based on your spring, whatever the spring is, because there's different spring rates, obviously there's different coil, configurations of how many coils are in it.
Right.
Obviously different, all like wire diameters, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
You either plug the hole or you leave the hole open, and you might actually get higher performance. It's the same thing with having a tapered plunger tube. It's allowing air to vent past the plunger before it starts making the seal.
Right.
And again, it lets the plunger get up to speed, because if you look at how springs work, there's this sort of bell curve in how they like get up to speed to a certain point. There's a whole equation. I actually have a book on how that works.
Of course you have a book on it.
Of course I do. But it was about manufacturing springs and different spring rates, and it's fascinating. There's a lot of stuff behind it. I call it a speed hole almost out of a joke, because that's a Simpsons reference.
Oh, okay.
But it is sort of like people use it almost, jokingly. Like even I think Blasterface used it jokingly. It's like, no, it's legitimately there to help increase speed and get better performance. As much of a joke as
it may be, that kind of just literally is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes sense. So yeah.
It's a small sidebar, but since you brought up Simpsons, just because I'm autisming, I saw a short on YouTube yesterday of an episode of Simpsons where he buys an $8 lobster and he grows it to be bigger, and he ends up eating it because it dies in a hot tub or a bathtub. The water's too hot.
Yeah, he's eating it and crying.
Yeah.
I remember.
Sad, but also it's delicious.
Yeah, he just keeps crying but keeps eating it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I just wanted to bring it up just because I'm thinking about it now that you brought up Simpsons.
It's fine. Literally, our Wi-Fi for our house is literally Malk with vitamin R. That's the name for our Wi-Fi at my house. Just so you know. Yeah, me and Teacup, my wife, that we know on Twitch. We both are Simpsons fans, older Simpsons fans, so we grew up with it. We have a lot of inside jokes that are very much referenced to that.
Yeah, watching Adult Swim when I was way too young to be doing so. There was Family Guy, American Dad, King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I never got into Simpsons though, but I've been thinking lately that I might just watch it from the beginning all the way on, because why not? I already love cartoons.
I think we go up to like season 15, and I think that's normally where we start to stop, because those like first ones, especially in the first like 10, it was like phenomenal writing. It's just some of the jokes are just they're kind of timeless. That's why they're really funny, and it's like, God, these are hilarious. It's like I forgot how funny some of these were.
Yeah. To go back to the talk about mods though, I'm not fully informed on this, but I've noticed an ongoing joke about a quad mega barrel mod. Can you talk about that?
Okay, so when the Fate came out, the rival Fate.
Yeah.
I do a lot of mega barrel mods. So for anybody who's not familiar, I take any of the mega air restrictors, the smart AR system, so the 3-barrel, 2-barrel, 5-barrel, 4-barrel, whatever it is, and I shove them onto other blasters because I just love the mega form factor. And the Fate happened to be this very particular square body shape. And I was like, Rival is phenomenal for mega blasters and for the mega ARs. And I took the 4-shot mega AR out of the Tri-Strike, the Modulus one that has the hamp on the front.
Right.
and I ripped that off and I shoved it into the Fate. And if you hollow it out enough, it will fit. It kind of bends the shell just a smidge, but it'll still fit quite nicely. And it fires. My first barrel shot hits about 120 FPS with Mega.
Oh Lord.
And with a pistol form factor with 4 shots, it's, if you keep it at, this was with a K25.
Okay.
But if you keep it as a stock rifle, that's easily HVZ level numbers through all 4 rounds, because even on the K25, the final shot still hitting in like mid 80s.
Right, and it has a smart AR, or is it a full like a shotgun?
No, it's a smart AR. It is 4 shots, so you have to prime it and fire. You literally just pull back and fire, pull back, fire, and it's 4 shots. So because Mega sidearms is always usually limited to like the Magnus or whatever, right? So a 3-round internal.
Actually, I have a Magnus right here next to me. Actually, I'll show it for the video.
Yeah, so that's a 3-round, and usually the power is kind of limited. Some of the Mega Blasters are okay for power, but rivals are just so much better out the gate, even with just a stock spring. And adding an additional round is just kind of nice, especially in a pistol form factor. I can grab it for you if you want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, sure. We can bring it to the table.
Just so I can bring it to the table so people know what I'm talking about. Because it beautifully matches the shape of the blaster.
Oh, that looks really good too. It almost looks like it was made for that.
Right. And I put one of the worker, like, clip-on 3D printed rails just for the top, just because I was like, hey, that looks nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually do a lot of tuning, so I have like tape on the inside of these. That's how I actually get certain performance numbers, because when you put tape in them, it helps with sealing for used darts, because obviously you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So on the used dart, it performs phenomenally. On a brand new dart, sometimes the performance is a little bit less because it holds a little too well. So yeah, but that's the nice thing is about out on the battlefield. If you're grabbing a dart off the ground, this thing's going to hit perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So when I made this, Iron Gopher and KT both started writing me to make a modding video about this. And I have been trying to get a modding video out. Now, obviously, we talked about my YouTube channel. I haven't put out a video very often. Obviously, running both between my Twitch and running a different YouTube channel, time is just a little bit kind of limited.
You got to pick and choose your time.
Yeah, I have to choose my time wisely. And I've been trying to get this done. I actually have all the parts. I even started the recording. And then I just got busy again, and it just fell off. And it's still on the docket. I still want to show how to do this because it's a phenomenal, like, sidearm. Again, it really does just fit in there that nicely. So, right. But yeah, that's where the joke came from.
It is very fun. I'm not saying that I'm going to do it, but if somebody who watched, because you've basically given us the tools already for the people that watch your streams. If somebody was to take this from you, would you like be upset about that, or would it be like, oh, I guess my job's done?
Not at all. I wouldn't be upset if you want to do it, because you have to try to figure out what I did, obviously, because it's not necessarily impossible. It's just you're going to find out just the tiny little pitfalls. There's little things out there you just have to do because
there's very much kind of just one way to do this.
Yeah, and well, some of the issues come down to like space, obviously, because you can tell that the barrel's like cutting really far down in here, and this yellow piece originally caps in, and the plastic goes up into this. I had to actually I use a solvent weld as opposed to like a glue, and I solvent welded this yellow piece to the blue piece. So these are now both one piece because you get rid of a screw post. I had to completely get rid of this and then solvent weld the 2 parts together, just so that way this is now clamshelling and actually closing this off and holding it.
Right. Okay.
And then as well, when you get into this top piece right here for the front iron sight, that's also another bit of a problem. You can see how that this originally had like a part that actually connected all the way back here. Obviously, that's all been removed.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's fiddly bits, and that's why I wanted to show a video kind of like, here are the parts you're going to want to remove. Or you could just be lazy and literally lob off the front end and call it a day. Right. I mean, if you want, you could totally do that.
4B style, just chop the whole front off and you're good.
Yeah, just chop the front, you're good, and just obviously you're going to glue the back end on this and call it a day.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. The rival, so the Fate is one of my favorite rival blasters. So
Mhm.
maybe it's just me, but I feel like if you were to chop the front off, it would still be pretty recognizable as a Fate.
Yeah, I think it would.
So as lazy as that would be, it's pretty valid if you
Yeah,
want to keep that sort of
if you
format.
want, like, yeah, that's the thing. If do you want to be lazy, cut here, hollow it out and do the little bit of trimming and stuff you got to do, connect the two, and you're done.
Right.
This is a little bit more involved, like going this far, but it's not impossible. It's just more of a how much work do you want to put into it.
Right. And so with that being said, you mentioned having to run a whole other YouTube channel. So for the people who don't
Mhm.
know, Vile does run or is part of a YouTube channel called FNC, which is the Foam News Collective. So what is the Foam News Collective, Vile?
So we are a group of individuals. Obviously, the collectives is just those of us who are the hosts or anybody who's like working in the background. It's also anybody in the hobby who's bringing that information to us. So we are a group. Anybody's allowed to really join, obviously, because the more people that are out there to find this information, the easier it is for us to get it out to kind of everybody. Because we took over essentially because we were originally known as the PNNN,
Yes.
which was the Provisional Nerf News Network, and the reason it was provisional was because when Foam Blast took their hiatus from Twin or This Week in Nerf, we were sort of filling in the role for a bit. When they basically shut down the shop and clearly were stepping away from the hobby, it was like, okay, I guess we're no longer provisional. I guess we're now the news channel, and we switched it over to the FNC, and we've kind of been going on from there.
Right, and you guys do a
So,
really great job too. The way it's
well,
formatted,
thank you.
like even in the server, because I'm part of the server, it worked, and it was hard to get there because at first it wasn't so seamless, but it's become
Yeah,
very seamless, and
yeah,
it's
it
good to
took some
include
time.
like a lot of portions of the hobby because there are people who know about the FNC and come in to drop off their projects or stuff like that, and then people like I found something called the Insepians, which is supposed to replace the quick edge, and
Mhm.
I had not heard about that anywhere until I just found that on Instagram and said this needs to go in FNC. So random people just finding things and putting them in there as well. We
Yeah.
found the Stringer Manta Ray that had been uploaded like
Yes.
3 days ago on Principles.
Yeah, only recently. It was only in the past like week or so that we saw that, and it was because somebody was like, "Oh yeah, hey, there's this thing," and I was like,
Yeah,
"Wait, who is this creator? What are these things? Why has nobody talked about this? Wait,
all
this
of
was
us
only
just
in the past
geeking
week."
out.
And
But
yeah,
he has the what was the axe he had, the prop axe from the
yeah, that
forest.
from the forest. Yeah, the forest axe, which was hilarious, and it looked really good. It was actually that's a really good prop.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I couldn't use it in Nerf, but I kind of just want it as like a set piece for behind me.
right? Yeah, it looks good. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. And so I really like what you, KT Grims and everyone has done with FNC.
A lot of this took time between trial and error. Because Foam Blast's website or their Discord, it was a little bit chaotic trying to find news and information. And when Discord opened up the threads and forums side of it, we didn't, sectioned everything off so that way there were particular threads for specific subjects, and it allows anybody to really post in there about something they found. And then anything else that other people find, they can go and add to that thread. And it literally gives it a collection of information. And it
Mhm.
allows us to sort of deep dive further into it. Because sometimes when I go, somebody might post a single thing, and I go do a deep dive on it real quick when we're writing our scripts and doing our research. And sometimes I find other stuff. I might find, oh, well, hey, this came from here, or this came from this. Oh, this is actually available over here. And sometimes that's not found by anybody else. The person who just found the little snippet led to a deeper dive on something else that is like, we had no idea this was available, and it just helps. And it's just a way to help the hobby as a whole,
Mhm.
because the hobby is a very big play. It is a worldwide hobby. There
Yeah.
is people from all over the world. Almost every single continent, has somebody at least that we've seen throughout most of our hobby here.
Mhm.
Just, you know, each community, every culture, everything about it, is very unique. Even the designs are very unique between different continents and different countries. And so you start to get a lot of information, and it's like, well, maybe you want to know about the stuff that's coming out of China. There's some really fascinating creators out of there. Maybe you want to know about an event that's going on in Australia and you don't know where to find that information. Or maybe you want, you just want to do some 3D printed stuff. And it's like, well, great. There's a whole slew of people that we can pull from. And it's just a way for you to quickly consolidate all of that information without having to go through so many different places, because you're talking about Facebook, Instagram, Discord, different websites like Reddit or something like that, YouTube channels. Like, there's
People
so much to cover.
Websites for this stuff.
What's that?
People making their own websites.
Yeah, like, I mean, even Blaster Hub has his own stuff. Like and obviously he's been like hugely helpful on just everything we get.
Yeah.
So like just having a wealth of information and people in just kind of like who have been in these places for so long, and they can bring it all to one centralized location, and then we could just give that information out so that way people know, because again, they can know about everything, literally, whether it's new blasters or creators, designers, events, like everything. Like, we just try to cover all of it where we can.
Yeah. Our hobby, while it is rather niche, it's big. It's very close. And
yes,
the more minds that you get on one thing, the better it'll be.
Exactly. Yeah, and everybody has their sort of specialty sometimes. Like, obviously we have people like, I'll name drop, but we have people like General Strife.
Oh man.
Who randomly have a very specific way in how he does searches on, like, Google searches and stuff like that. And we'll find these listings of stuff in like some weird, like some South American websites that just are like warehouses. Essentially, there's some warehouse company, and he finds the listings before anybody's ever even heard of them.
The stuff
and it's
that
like,
he manages to find is insane.
It's incredible
levels of work sometimes. Like some website, some like South American website that has like these 3 Busby listings for blasters that aren't slated to come out until 2 years from now. Like, he'll find it.
Sometimes he will. It's crazy, and it's like, that's the thing, is we get people with different skill sets and different mindsets, and who know how to poke and prod in certain places just to get those information, or any type of information, and it's just kind of, it's incredible.
Yeah, and just a shout out General Strife. Yeah, he did. Everyone we mentioned, I'm gonna try to leave as many links in the description as possible. General Strife, the dude's insane, and he's very young, and so I can't imagine when he learns more and he figures more stuff out. I can't imagine how much of an asset to the hobby he'll be one day, even just for the history. Like, you name a blaster, he'll know. Oh yeah, I've seen that before. Like, oh, they have a limited version of those. There's 5 versions of that. Like, it's crazy the knowledge that this kid has.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. But so you mentioned earlier you had a book on springs, and I said, yeah, of course you have that. And the reason I say that is because to do all the things you do and all the mods that you do, you need to wear a lot of hats. You need to know how to do certain things. And I remember during a stream you did say that throughout your life you've always seeked out more knowledge, and I was hoping you could expand on that a little bit.
So I've worked in a ton of different industries. A lot of people will ask me, well, what haven't you done? And it's like, actually quite a lot. But I have done a lot in my life. And I've never gone longer than 3 years at any job. And in some cases, any industry. Because I'm have a bit of a love of learning. I love learning new skills, new information. I just like to do that. Because there's a lot of things that are transferable between different industries, different mindsets, different skill sets. All of that stuff can be very, very transferable. It's why I'm friends with a lot of cosplayers. Cosplayers are very much like that as well. They have so many different skill sets, and all of those skill sets come together to create their cosplays that they make sometimes. Like, whatever it is, it could be they got into 3D modeling so they could 3D print a part. They got into 3D printing so they can make themselves a mold that they can then cast resin. They can then, or they make a metalworking because they needed to make a particular rivet or something, or they got into foam because they needed the foam crafting to be able to like make this piece of armor that'll fold away that metal won't. And then they got into leatherworking because it's the only real way to get like this. Like there's so many skill sets that go along with
so
it.
deep on these things.
Yeah, and you really get fascinated. I get fascinated with what they learn, and I have a lot of really good friends who are cosplayers. Mine though is just in what I learned throughout my life. I was interested in cars for a very long time when I was growing up. And through that, I got to learning obviously about engines, and then I got to learning about transmissions, and I got to learning about cooling systems, and I got to learn about air conditioning. I actually became an electrician because I was like, electronics, and I was interested in that. And I started tinkering on electronics as a kid. And then I was like, well, that's fascinating. I can do this. And every single one of them, again, you start to see that the lines are blurring between all of them, because too many people think that, I only know this one subject, which means I don't know anything about this. And it's, to me, I don't believe that is true. I believe that you need to understand that there are certain things that will absolutely connect between two different subjects or two different things. So the more you start to realize that, the easier and easier it becomes to be, for you to do these weird things or randomly know about certain subjects, or to catch on to other subjects or other professions or what have you. So that's kind of why I went down that path, or why I've always kind of been on that path, I should say.
Yeah. And then you became overqualified to play with toys.
that's me.
Yeah.
Professional toy player.
Almost anything, and you just play with toys all day.
Right.
No, but so what did you learn from GameStop then?
So a lot of that was patience, but also how to talk with people.
Yeah.
Because, like customer service in some way, there's a level of humility that you kind of have to learn from that, because dealing with people day in and day out is really difficult. And a place like GameStop, obviously I learned a lot about inventory management, because a lot of my job was I had to receive packages, obviously, in the morning. I was an assistant store manager at GameStop for a while, and funny enough, for about 3 years. And I would bring in packages. I would sometimes have thousands of stuff that I had to bring into stock. I would then go through the inventory. Oh, hey, this is incorrect. I would then have to change the inventory, send an email to the person, say, hey, you sent me the wrong game or whatever. Because stores would ship stuff between each other. And then we might get something from the warehouse from the company as well, or whatever. And then I had to also pack and ship stuff out as well, because maybe we have an overstock at our store, but this store doesn't have it. So I would have to pull items and stuff. And that type of knowledge actually helped me when Foam Blast was shutting down. I'm friends with Michelle and Addie. I went over to their place, and when they were trying to finish off, closing the shop down, they were like, okay, so here's how it works. And I'm like, oh, this is just like when I worked at GameStop. And I literally just started going into it. And I remember Michelle made a comment to me, or she made a comment to Addie, and she was like, maybe we should have brought him on sooner to help us out. Because I offered to help them. Yeah, I offered to help them. And I remember Michelle was a little bit standoffish, because mostly for the fact that they didn't feel like they had the time to train me. I took about 5 minutes for training. And I instantly jumped right into it, because it was literally no different than what I did at GameStop. Because once you've done some level of inventory management, and especially pulling SKUs and parts to ship off to people, it becomes second nature. You just kind of do it. And I laughed, because I was just kind of like, well, I mean, I did say I worked there for a while, but that is what I learned from there, is learning to deal with people and learning to do inventory management. Really, that would be my real skill sets that I got from that.
I worked at this place that did it did drug testing, and I was one of the people that would go through and pass people through to get in. And that was my first time, it was a medical job. It technically was a medical job, but it was my first time working an office job. And up until then, I had only worked at a park and done some odd construction jobs with my uncle. So I didn't really know how to carry myself in an office, how to like what is appropriate and not appropriate to talk about like
Mhm.
in the middle of the lobby. Maybe you need to go back and have a discussion about your paycheck with the manager and not in front of the other coworkers.
Yeah.
Uh, but not only that, it did teach me like when to be stern with someone, when to like be more compassionate, because it also was a very sensitive workplace. Of course, it's drug testing. You know, these people are coming in, and you don't know what they could be going through, and
Mhm.
it also teach me to be more compassionate, because I'm not like uh very, I don't know what the word is, but because I try to be empathetic, but it just taught me
Mhm.
like more so how to be in touch with that part of myself. So
Right.
that's what I took from there, and that you working at GameStop learning patience just kind of made me think about that.
I think patience can come from anything though, because like a background for me, I worked construction as well. I was an electrician. I worked in an office because I was a CAD designer for a millwork company. I've worked in automotive as an automotive tech for a little bit. I, like each and every one of them has a level of patience that you have to learn from it, because in the construction site, like you said, you can get away with a little bit more. People are a little bit more angry. If you have the if you have like a boss on the wrong day, he's throwing a tool at you. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of how
Yeah,
that could be. But you go
I'm
into the
not turning the
office,
drywall down fast enough. Suddenly, I'm an asshole.
right? Yeah, and but you go into the office, it's a different mindset.
Yeah,
Like I went to school for welding. I'm a certified welder, and like I did CNC machining and stuff like that, and metalwork. Yeah, again, when I start to say I've done a lot of things and I've switched industries multiple times, it starts coming out when you
it's
say,
a
"Wait, you've done all?"
lot
Yep,
of things.
you've done a lot of things. Yeah, I've done quite a lot, and like each one of those has their own level. I found when I worked at like as an automotive tech, there are certain things you can do that can really make people want to work with you, because if you learn how to understand somebody and understand their communication, how to communicate better with them, you can magically become better. And I found that out when I was working as an automotive tech. What I found when working in the office was actually how I worded myself on things like emails and how I would talk to people, because certain things were, like you said, you can't say certain stuff. You shouldn't like there's an etiquette. So
Yeah,
that kind of the ability to like learn communication with somebody from another job was good, but then the etiquette side sort of helped to hone that a little bit better. At GameStop, learning how to deal with people, how to deal with quite stressful situations and things like that. Um, the construction site with people who are pissed off, or who again could throw a hammer through a wall at
yeah,
because they're mad at you or whatever. Like learning how to deal with somebody who's angry and just kind of brush it off. Like there's a lot that comes from each and every one of them. That's why it's like there's things that can be learned at any job or anything that you do in life, no matter what it is.
yeah. There
It's
should
just you.
always be something to take away from the experience.
Right, and you have to be open to that. You have to always be open to taking away something. And even
Yeah.
if it's you don't know it until afterwards, you should look back on it. Okay, what did I learn from this
Oh
after the
yeah.
fact?
I'll complain about that job at that one place like so much to my girlfriend, and then I'll talk about it like, oh, but I learned this and learned this. It's like, you were just complaining. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I hated it, but I took this from it.
Oh, I hated my job at GameStop. Trust me. And that CAD job was garbage because the level of stress they put me under. I like no, every job has its stress, but you can always take something away from it.
Yeah, and then of course there specifically construction, especially if you have like a good crew with you working, and it makes it
Hmm.
go a little better as well. And I think that also translates to many other fields as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to get back to the topic of blasters, you do a lot of modding, you do a lot of integration work, and you participated right here on screen. Actually, we have
Yeah.
your last Merge Masters entry unfinished. So you do have a history of not finishing projects. Though lately you have finished quite a few. But
Yeah.
why is it that you think that your projects usually go unfinished?
So I run into a few issues from time to time. I'm also I learned something when I was in a different hobby years ago, and through other stuff as well as I've gotten older. So I had a problem with starting a project was very easy. Finishing a project is very hard.
Mhm.
And a lot of times if I stay on a project and I lose motivation or I come up across a problem similar to this, I have a couple of problems. One, I'm trying to build a paint booth, but also I had issues with the some of the epoxy. It actually has a bunch of porosity and it had these little soft spots that didn't actually cure. And I had to pick all of it out. I'm still trying to clean it up. I'm still trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And that put a damper on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to beat myself up about not finishing it. It's fine. And the same thing goes for if you lose motivation, because like, you know, we have a lot of people who have things like ADHD and autism and things like that. And people keep telling me, wow, you seem to have a lot of these similar things. And I laugh because I'm like, I probably do.
Yeah.
But what I found was if I am inspired, I should be working on that right then and there. I should just get into it, because when I am motivated, I will do so much work and I'll do it fast, because some people are shocked when I get a lot of work done, even when they're messing with me on stream, right? Like, even though they're doing that, they'll be like, wait, how did you get that much work done? I'm like, you didn't notice, did you? But it's because I've got a lot of like motivation and inspiration.
Yeah.
If I'm losing that motivation or I hit a pitfall or something like that, I learned it is okay to put it down and pick it up at a later time when you have something. I also realized that there is no reason in forcing the completion of a project just for the sake of completion, because I have learned skill sets throughout the years I've been doing this. Like, there's an integration project that I actually used 3D scanning for, and it was the Hyperfire Strife integration I was doing. As a matter of fact, Grimm's already beat me on building the exact similar type of thing. It looks really nice, by the way. If y'all don't know Grim Reaper 2458, it's a fantastic one. It's literally based off of one that I started years ago. But what I realized while I was doing that, there were certain skill sets I didn't know. A lot of times using things like a 2-part epoxy to be able to do the body work on the outside. Or at the time, I didn't even know that DevCon and Permatex was the best way to connect stuff. And I put that down until I learned that skill. Once I learned that, I picked it back up. Now the whole body is together, and I've put a bunch of putty on the outside, and I started sanding it down. And then I was like, I don't know where I want to go with this. And I found like there was a part that was a little bit complicated. So I want to sit it down and think about it on the side afterwards. But I never stopped like thinking of ideas. I never stop. We've talked about it plenty of times. Just around this desk alone, I have 30 projects.
Yeah.
I have counted it. I have 30 unfinished in progression projects going on right now. And I still have more. I'm still not done. There are still other ones that are in the back of my mind. Yeah. And sometimes out of nowhere, I just get this inspiration. I'm like, I really want to work on this right now because I think I figured out how to do this. And all of a sudden, I shove everything off the desk and then I just start working on this other one because you have to. It's like striking when the iron is hot kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you have that, and especially if you have a particular mindset, sometimes you need to just do it. And if you don't, and I made a New Year's resolution like a couple years ago where I was like, I'm going to go through old projects. And I'm going to start doing these things. And I said, I'm either going to make progress on it, I'm going to finish it, or I'm going to toss it, or throw it into the parts bin or whatever. Yeah. And I did that. I actually did that. So like the Merge Masters from the previous year, that was the gigantic rifle that I was making. That was a huge thing. That was a project idea I'd had for a while. And it also started from me looking through other projects. And I started throwing stuff away. Sometimes in the process of getting an old project, when you look at it again, you're like, what was I doing with this again? It's like a new perspective. Yeah. You all of a sudden are looking at it with a completely different thing. And you're like, wait, this actually is looking really good. Hey, what if I do this? I actually started in integrations. Like I wanted to do integrations like 5+ years ago. Right. I saw some of them. Actually, Iron Gopher's work was some of the stuff I really loved. And funny enough, the one that was inspiring to me, I have hanging on my wall. He sent it to me. It was really nice of him to do. But I wanted to get into this stuff, but I had no idea what I was doing. and I started trying to like cut up all this stuff, and I was going to do like internal engineering and all these things. I was really just thinking I was going to do all this work. No, I wasn't. I wasn't going to do that level of work. I had no skill set whatsoever. But over the years, the funniest part about my first project, I have this one kind of big project idea that I've been holding off for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And a blaster was released in that time frame that actually makes the entire integration perfect. And sometimes by waiting off, something else gets released that makes it better.
Right.
And it's like, I think I found my a blaster for this project.
Right.
And whether it's learning the skill set, learning the knowledge, or just finding the inspiration again, I just found that it's okay to do that. And people joke, obviously, that's, if anybody doesn't know, there's a meme on the Twitch channel called 12%.
Yes.
And it's either I either finish only 12% of the projects I start, I only finish 12% of any project that I'm working on, or like it was basically like 12%. I never go beyond the 12%. Yeah, it was always 12%. And there's this other one that was a meme where somebody switched the numbers and they're like, he made 21%. And I was like, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that false profit. Don't you say that. But then when I get a lot of work done, people will make that joke sometimes. But yeah, that's where it kind of started.
We had our Eureka earlier in the month, I believe, where you finished the Crimson Strike Retalicon build.
Yeah, that one I mean from start to finish too, and that only happened. I did that one in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if you did any stuff off stream, but
a little bit.
Really seamlessly.
There was a couple of things I had to do off stream just because of the there's like things I had to really like get into or I couldn't see, and I had to like change my perspective on it, and I just on stream it wasn't going to really work. I had to like take it off stream. But yeah, I got that one buttoned up really quickly. I'm very happy with how that one turned out, actually.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
The paintless integration.
Paintless integration. That's partially why you probably finished it. You didn't have to paint it.
Yeah, actually, so paint's always been a problem for me because before, when I started, I was in an apartment. Painting is kind of hard when you're in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And I know some people do it, but I'm just like, I don't want any complications.
I've tried to think about how I'm going to do it. And I was like, maybe I could have like a paint booth that I could put up on the balcony, or we can go to the park and set up a paint booth.
There's complications to be had all around, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to just deal with that. But we bought a house and we moved into this home. I've been here for a few years now, and the problem that we have out here is that we have a lot of dust storms and high winds.
Yeah.
So with that, it causes complications. During the winter, it's very cold. Sometimes we get snow. Like we're high desert. Like we're in a higher desert area that does get snow, and it's just, if it's not windy, it's dusty. If it's not dusty, it's raining. If it's not raining, which is kind of rare, it's snowing. And if it's not snowing, it's just so cold, it's not worth painting because you're way out of the temperature range you should be in.
Right.
And it's, or like it was 106 not too long ago, like a week or two ago. And it was like, it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build a paint booth, and I've already got the frame. I've got the table part of it done. I actually am going to have plumbing to vent the air out and all of that, but I'm a little bit, I have to take things slow because I have I'm still recovering from a torn rotary cuff on my shoulder, my left shoulder, and I have to pull this 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of plywood.
Oh man!
and cut that down, and doing that by yourself because I am currently living alone right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the information's out there, but like without having any help, it's kind of difficult to do stuff. So I do have to be very cautious about how I do things. So I don't make the injury worse or re-injure it harder, or maybe injure my other shoulder. Like I just don't want to do that. So I have to take things kind of slow.
They make things that make lifting, like big boards or lots of planks, easy.
Yeah,
they don't get rid of the weight.
I've seen that. I'm looking at getting one, actually. There's one at Lowe's, and there's a Lowe's here. I'm looking at grabbing that thing.
Yeah, they make it easier, but they don't get rid of the weight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm built like a fridge, but like, it's still just an awkward shape, and it's just getting it set up is a real pain.
Shout out my beefy boys out there. Beefy boy season all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, staying on the topic of modding, though, you also I like that when it comes to modding old or sought after blasters, you just don't really have much of a care. You're not going out of your way to destroy these blasters, but you're trying to give them new life, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is the same guy. Like he did Crimson Recon integration, as I said. He's resto modding a 95, resto modding a manta ray. He modded a 95
Yeah.
crossbow with an XBZ. It's all amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Is
Also,
there?
the cyclotron that KT
Oh yeah, the
ran at
cyclotron.
HVZ
Yeah,
at RAG. Yeah, that
it's
was
the most
another one I really
badass
liked.
picture for no reason of him holding that thing. It's so nice.
It's a really good shot. I love that action shot.
It made me want
Yeah,
to do a cyclotron with a rapid strike, and I'm trying to
right.
figure out how. Let's see. I could probably put something in it. I want to keep the crank though, and then before I could buy it, someone else took it, and now there's like a couple for like upwards of 50, $80 somewhere,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
sometimes it's a pain. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of friends that are in the hobby. Some people will send me certain things, and they're like, "I want you to do something with this," so then I do it, and that's really awesome of them. I think I got that one from. I get that one from Grim. I might have gotten that one from Grim. I'm pretty sure I did.
You got the there was a long strike or a long shot rail that you got from him. I know that.
That's what went onto the Crimson. Yeah, because Grim got a Crimson long shot and chopped off the top carry handle rail to put the printed one. Yeah, to like lower it,
Yeah.
which is it's really nice. Actually, Mr. Nathan has one just like that, and it's a really nice thing. It just sent me the junk part and said do something with it, so that I put it as a side rail on the Crimson Recon. So it has a Crimson Recon. Yeah, it's a Crimson Recon, Crimson long shot rail, the Rattler front end, the shot blast rear stock, and then the tube and the barricade stock, the yellow and black. I took the black part of that stock just for the tube and then connected it to that, and it's actually permatext in, so it's DevCon. It doesn't collapse anymore.
I'm more akin to the Yellow Spectre I have on my barricade, but that was. I mean, because I like to, like, if there's a blaster I love, I will learn as much as I can about that blaster, and I didn't even know that about the barricade, or at least I got my information wrong at first.
Yeah.
But yeah. Is there a sort of white whale when it comes to blasters, like one that you haven't found that you really want to mod?
You know, I've over the years I accumulated quite a lot of like rare blasters. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because I do have a lot of like. I mean, I again, thanks to Grim, I have like 2 ultimators. I have
a huge
crazy. As a matter of fact, yeah, like, you know, when it comes like Iron Gopher sent me
Stinger Raven.
this Stinger Raven, and then I didn't care. I knocked the battery wall down here so I could put it an extension on this. So.
Yeah.
To make an extended battery tray,
but I wanted a plate as well not too long ago.
Yeah, actually, I've sent the files over to Grim. Grim's going to print it and test fit it to make sure that it's good. But yeah, that way it sort of takes this wall and shrinks it down a little bit, gives you a tiny bit more space out of it, which would be nice. But yeah, just again, what I like about this hobby is that you have so many people that we can sort of keep an eye out for each other on things, because I've sent stuff off to other people as well. Like, if I find something and I have extras and they're like, hey man, I could really use that, I'd be like, great. And I send it off to them. They send me off something as well. It's sort of like we just sort of trade back and forth as time goes on. And I've really liked that. That's like, I've found a good group of people and a lot of really awesome people that are willing to do stuff like that. Because again, when I was in San Diego, I found a lot of stuff. That place is a fantastic place to go thrifting.
I remember, not even until I was looking back at some of your older videos, maybe a few months ago, and this was a video from like maybe not even 2 years ago, and it was showing off your collection, and it's just 7 boxes of stuff, and I can't even imagine what it's like now.
So I had like the whole collection I have. You're talking about like the whole, like everything,
like the deep store, like all of it.
All of it. I have not gotten a count, but it's well, and I can guarantee that it's probably well over 1,000. blasters.
That's crazy.
I'm not even kidding. And I do have quite a lot of kind of rare things. I have a lot of vintage stuff. I mean, not that long ago, I even picked up the it's one of the reactor ball ones, the larger ones, the flywheeler. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, the MP 150, 1500, something like that.
No. This I actually have it sitting right here.
Baseball
Haha.
launcher. No,
This
yeah,
guy.
that's the MP 150, I believe. No.
Is it? I thought it was called something else. I don't remember. Anyways, I picked this up not too long ago, and I just try to keep, like, the one thing I noticed about this is that the longer you're in it, because some people are like, oh my god, how do you have all this stuff? And I'm like, well, if you go thrifting every so often, and if you go on road trips, if you go thrifting along the way, and you do this, it's very difficult between West Coast and East Coast, right? There is a difference, 100% a difference. Even when I drove to Texas, once you start getting to New Mexico and Texas, the thrifting just starts to just take a dive. I don't, but like everything on the West Coast from like Arizona down to like California and up, this is the type of stuff you find on the regular. So it's just random what you're going to get, but you still have to just remain sort of diligent in doing it. Because if you don't, even if you think, well, this place kind of sucks, just go. Just go in. You never know what you're going to find.
100% of the shots you don't take, I think, is the
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. And I was in a very good place, kind of like Chelo. I was in a really good place when I was in San Diego. I had a lot of that, and I found a lot of. Sometimes I just found a full bag of just like vintage stuff, and I'm just like, okay, and they're like $10. I'm like, all right, you know.
The prices are what upset me the most, is because you'll find a whole bin for $10, and meanwhile, I'm happy because I found a crossbolt for $7.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hit or miss. Like even here, like I literally just got a Dude Perfect bow for $3. And then I go to another thrift store and they had a Rampage for 10.
Right.
Depending on what thrift store you go to, even where I'm at here, sometimes they're hit or miss on what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And just depending if they go over here and donate it or over here and donate, and they're literally only 2 miles or 3 miles away from each other. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't know.
I got confirmation recently when I went to one of my local Goodwills, because I go there sometimes, and occasionally there'll be like maybe a blaster, but it's not something I'm after, or it's absurdly overpriced. So I asked the manager, who happened to be working the cashier that day, how come I don't see toys here very often? Because not even blasters, like action figures, dolls, cars, no toys are ever on the floor. And I asked him, he says, oh, most of our toys get sent to Santa Clarita. I'm in the AV. Why is everything Why is it going to Santa Clarita?
Yeah, right. That's the other problem, is that they will randomly send them to other places, and then you're just out of luck, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But even in my local, I live at a rural place. The toys out here were just. There was one thrift store, it unfortunately closed, but when I went there, they had 3 blasters, and they were asking like $15 for them, and it was something like I remember it was some like Busby blaster or something like that, something that you really shouldn't be spending more than a few bucks on. And I'm just like, man, nobody's gonna buy that. Like, this thing was barely even like $18 new. I don't know what you're thinking. You know what I mean? And it just depends on what you're gonna find. You have no idea. But then across the street at another place, I found a Nintendo DS for $30, a DS Lite. And then they offered me the DS Lite for $5 just so they could get rid of it. So I was like, sold. I'll take that. You never know what you're going to get. You have no idea unless you go, and you have to go regularly.
Yeah.
Like, and what I was doing in San Diego was I worked 4 like 10-hour days, and then I would work a half day on Friday. So what I would do is on the half day on Friday, I would leave. I had a whole like path I would do, hit all these stores, go home, see what I got, like, at the end of all of that, and then start stream at 4:00. It was just like, it was clockwork. I just did it every week, and every week there was always something different. There could be nothing. I could literally come home with nothing, or I could come home with the entire back of my smart car filled. It literally could just be whichever one, dude. It was one or the other. It was like one time I literally got machinist's equipment. I still have it. I have a bunch of like end mills and like lathe cutters and different measuring tools and collets and weird stuff. And they were like $50, and I'm like, that end mill right there is $50. And there's like 100 bits within this thing. Oh my god! So I was like, okay, and I just took off with it because I knew what it was worth.
Deals like that where it's almost like you feel bad for spending that much. Like, can I give you more money? Are you sure?
Yeah, I picked up music equipment recently for $30, and it was 2 guitar pedals. One of them goes for $200.
That's insane.
And I was like, I'll take them both. And I, it's like I'm not gonna say no to that because one of them typically sells for $45 on its own. Yeah. And I'm buying both of these for less than that. Okay, well, I'm just gonna do it. Sometimes you got to go, but you have to know what you're looking for as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you do it enough, you kind of know like here's a price market, here's a range, because you don't even have to go like getting on your phone. I hate those people who sit there and they'll grab a black. Like I've seen a guy sitting in the toy section, he'll grab that toy and then he's looking up on his phone to see if it's worth anything. And I'm just like, dude, either know what you're grabbing or get the hell out of the way. Just go on, just get out of here.
The only time I feel that is acceptable, and even this may be a little scummy depending who you are, is Funko Pops, because they have a tag on them specifically so you can see the cost or the worth of it.
Right.
But then the Funko Pop market, honestly, if you want to go on a tangent about that, that's its own little like God, why are these so expensive?
I know. Me and Teacup have a friend who's
$80.
Me and Teacup have a friend who has a literal storage unit filled with them. I'm very, very aware of the Funko Pops.
Yeah.
And the whole world behind that.
Yeah. In the same vein, though, we also both share the same opinion of I say a hatred for the I know what I got mindset that we go on tangents about sometimes.
Big time.
It's bad.
It's bad. There is a thing that I really just like. I just have a distaste for it. Is when you hold on to a product and because you see, it's like the people who check Amazon for their pricing guide. For starters, anybody who's listening to this, please never do that. That is a company. Yeah, even eBay is not a good one. You can see eBay and it'll sometimes show you why something's sold, right? You can see what the previous ones that have sold recently sold for. And a good example would be like a limited edition Game Boy Advance SP sold for $150. Remember this part where I said at the beginning, a limited edition? Okay, well, your one over here that's broken in half, your standard like gray one or whatever that you could find, he's not worth $100. I'm sorry. I know that you saw that the most recent really mint condition one still had its box, still had like a Pokemon game with it, sold for $200. Okay, that Pokemon game sells for $60. I don't know why, but it sold for that much. Does not mean that this pile of junk that you have here is worth that. You need to understand that. And too many people hold on to this stuff with the I know what I got mentality. And what I want to tell every person that acts or says that is, if nobody is buying it, then you are just a storage lot. That is all you are.
If it doesn't go out in 3 months, you're a hoarder.
Move if you want to know how to move product, if you can't sell that product within a month, you're a hoarder and you are nothing more than a storage unit. That is it. That is all you are. You need to understand that if you are unwilling to budge on that price, you clearly do not understand how to sell. Period. I've actually sold blasters before. Actually, when the COVID thing happened, I had so many like extras of stuff. I built a paper bag. I basically had paper bags left over, so I just built a bag, and I put the exact same blasters in each and every one of them. And I had darts in there, mags, like all kinds of stuff. And I built a blaster, and I made $20. I had 6 of those bags available. I sold all of them within a week.
And $20
because
$20 at 20, that's a meal. So that's a good amount of money too, honestly.
So that I sold all of them within a week, and the reason why is because $20 is easy to pull out of an ATM. Mm-hmm. Increments of 20 are very easy: 20, 40, 60, 80. Other thing, I made sure that what I put in there was actually either getting me my money back or making me a tiny bit. It was kind of both, because it was like a triad and an original Recon with all of its parts on it, a bunch of like mags that came with it, because a lot of times I'd get extras. Just a handful of other blasters. I don't even remember what all was in there, but like a strong arm or something, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I was getting the triads for $1. I was getting the Recon for $3. Like I'm making my money back at least, and maybe a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
Somebody got something good. I got it out of my house, and I sold it that quickly. There was no problems. I wasn't holding on to it thinking I was going to get more. I didn't care. It was moving the product out and putting money back into my pocket. That's how you were supposed to be doing it.
Right.
And I really hate people holding on to stuff for far too long.
The perfect example I have of this in the hobby, I believe, is 95 crossbow. I don't know when or how it started, but as cool as it is, as nostalgic as it may be for some people, the 95 crossbow, and this may be a hot take, should not be more than $100. And there, and like,
Even then,
unless it's like new in box, pristine, never even been sniffed, even then maybe it should not be $100. It is an old.
There are literal people in this hobby. I could name a couple of them. I'll be honest. That literally buy as many of them as they can to almost artificially inflate that price.
Crossbows we gotta get.
No, you can't. There's no crystal.
What?
I'm not selling it.
You don't need 40 crossbows!
What's ridiculous is that it used to be a really good blaster to mod, and a lot of people would do acrylic, parts and large plunger tubes, and they would do the RSCBs with like flippable stuff.
Yeah.
That was a very, very common thing to do. And like people started getting a hold of them and then started sort of realizing like, oh, these are actually like people can do really cool mods with them. Well, I'm going to jack up the price. It's almost like scalper mentality.
Yeah.
And again, I know the people, I know those people. I could full on name drop them. And it is a frustration to me because they are absolutely artificially inflating that cost by just hoarding as many as they can. Because when you have 15 of these, or you have 30 of these, that you are intentionally trying, and you're doing it so that way, like with the intent to increase its value. Yeah. You are the problem. Period.
You
are
the
absolute
be the
problem.
guy that has 595 crossbows because these are really cool blasters. I like having them. But then you have 30, and it becomes like, well, do you need 30? Do you maybe want to share that with the rest of us?
Okay, I say that, and then I have 30 rapid strikes. But listen, mine are for modding purposes. I don't care about their value. Okay, I just want the pushers or the blaster shell. I don't give a crap about the value.
Well, then it becomes like, okay, I'm actually using these. If you have 30 crossbows and they're sitting in a box in your garage, then it's like, well, what's the point of even owning them?
Yeah, that's kind of where the resto mods came in. I saw this weird sort of. And this kind of comes with anything, right? It doesn't matter what it is when it comes to collectibles of any kind. I have figurines and I have old video games. I was literally going through my video game consoles today and games to trade them in, because there's some that I have either duplicates of or stuff that I'm like, where did I even get this from? I have no connection to this game, so I can get some other stuff for other stuff that I mod. And there's this weird thing about. It's sort. I've a lot of times say that you are you covet the plastic. It's like you have this obsession over a plastic thing, and a lot of times when something is like new in a box and it's still sealed and it's meant to be like a collector's thing, okay, I can kind of understand that, right? Let's just let be in its nice shape, because it's a nice way to preserve one of those because it was not loved. When something has been taken out of the box and it has been played with, it is no longer a collector's item. Get it out of your freaking head that it is a collector's item at that point. You need to stop. When it is scuffed and beaten and sun-faded and, like clearly it's been loved by somebody and they've gotten use out of it, stop trying to act like it's rare. Stop trying to act like it needs to be, put in a museum. Stop it.
Yeah.
The ones that somebody kept in a box or randomly were in a warehouse for a long time and somebody was able to acquire it. Okay, sure. That one can be done. But everything else, it's free game. That's why I started doing the resto mods, because I wanted them to live on in a way. That's why the cyclotron was ran at rag. That's why I have like an Oozinator that I'm trying to do a similar thing like I did with the Cyclotron. That's
Yeah.
why I have the Crimson Recon. That's why I have the these are all meant to be sort of relived again. Because if you go to an event and somebody sees that, they're going to be like, "Wait a minute, what is that?" And everybody's
They're
going to be
either
fascinated by
They're
it
either going to know what it is and be interested, or they're going to not know what it is and be even more interested.
and still wonder what it is. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And it lets it live on in a different way. Look, if it breaks, it's going to happen, right? If it breaks, it breaks. That's a shame.
Yeah.
I can repair it. I can just, again, make it more rat rodish in its way.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
fine.
As modders, like we fully know, like we're breaking our blasters like anyway. So
Right. Yeah,
in a
we're
way,
just doing whatever we want with it.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Like the Vulcan I have on my balcony because I have room for it in my room, I'm not going to be getting $50 for that. That's like, it's ridiculous. An
Mhm.
example I have of this for good though, my friend Shaz, who actually sold me the Sentinel that I proceeded to chop up for the Chrono Sentinel, he sent that to
Yeah.
me, and he said he sent me the picture of how many he owns. He has like seven of them. These really sought after Springer blasters, and he got called out once for owning so many. And he straight up said, like, I have them so that I can share them with the hobby because they're so expensive elsewhere. I can give people a good deal. And from Canada, he only charged me the shipping, plus some for and threw in extra stuff. So there is. So while the I know what I got mindset, absolutely hate it. There is a way to, for good, have excess and share it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's again why I have a lot of stuff and I have accumulated quite a lot. That's why I send a lot of times if I ask people, what are you looking for? What are you trying to build?
Right.
And they also
I
try
have two
to help
demolishers
those.
because of you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my thing is I personally like to help people who are making content out of it. That's my personal reason why I like to do it, because if you make something and you show it off, you could inspire other people to do something cool. That's why I like to do it. I have like my motivation behind it is like, are you going to cut this up and do something really neat with it? Oh, awesome. Here, just have it. I don't care, because it is, especially if you show it off. Grim a lot of times at least puts it on like Instagram or YouTube or whatever. Gopher's the same way. He would put it on, his Instagram page. He would do full write-ups of like how he built it and things. Cat's Blaster mods. Obviously, I sent stuff off to you. I've sent stuff off to I've lost track of how many people I've sent stuff off to before.
And then in return, I have a package of trash that I've just been curating for the last I think it's close to over half a year now that I've been trying to get together for you. Because we agreed on one thing, and then I'm trying to find other stuff to make the shipping worth it. So I don't know when that'll get to you, but it will eventually.
Whatever. I'm not in any hurry.
Yeah, you really need it. 30 rapid strikes isn't enough.
Yeah. Well, you know what I could do with junk. Clearly, I have a Crimson Recon over there that shows what I can do with junk.
And then this does the final topic of our interview we'll touch on. You did say during I think it was the last stream or the stream before last that I was in. You talked about starting a business or a company where you just sell whatever you have on hand. Or there's more to it than that, but why don't you explain?
So I actually was looking at it more of the modding part of the hobby is sort of dying a little bit. Not so much. It's a little bit more on like it's rough. It's in rough shape.
It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be. So with Foam Blast closing down, Out of Darts has really moved over to a hardware 3D printing shop for the most part. Does he still carry mod parts? Yes, he does. And when I say mod parts, I'm talking about like worker parts.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really consider that to be mod parts, and I'm like, I would counter that with builds like the XPT. Recon is a perfect example of that. I don't want to 3D print everything I have. Certain parts I do want to be metal. Having a place where I can buy a metal bolt sled or a metal pusher or barrels from that have like, they're not designed for caliburns or talon claws or whatever new pump action Springer there is out there. Those parts are very important. When I finished that off, I went to go try and replace some of the parts. I had to buy from 3 separate locations.
Yeah.
I had to go from like AK Blaster Mods, Amazon, and like out of darts to be able to get all three of the all of the things that I used. And that makes it so difficult to do. And even like Containment Crew still has some mod parts, but unfortunately he's a little bit limited, so sometimes you have to wait quite a while, like a while for him to get new stock in and stuff. So it puts a bit of a burden on his shop. And if you're trying to mod and you're trying to look for something, if you're having to wait, it just makes it a little difficult. And I was looking at it like, I actually originally thought I would love to have taken over for Foam Blast when they were closing down. I would have been like, I would love to take this over. Maybe not the Foam Blast name, obviously, but at least just the shop, right?
The storefront.
Yeah, the storefront, because I think that sure, while we can get away with 3D printed cages and all, the stuff that Worker has is perfectly fine. That gets us most of the way there.
Mhm.
Simple flywheeler setups are still good. They're still viable. I mean, I keep a bunch of cages around just for whatever I'm going to do. And I've designed my own 3D printable cages. It's not like I don't, but there is something nice about grabbing a little bit of it. Like I said, sort of the injection molded or the machine stuff.
Right.
Is just really nice. Worker smooth flywheels are still very viable. There's only so many things you can do, but I just felt that a lot of these parts are becoming harder and harder to acquire in one place.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to start sort of a small shop like that, because when I helped Foam Blast, I was like, oh, I could totally do this.
Mhm.
I would love to do this. It's just a little side thing for me to do and offer other parts. When I thought about it, I was like, well, I also have a ton of blasters, a lot of extras of which, what if I just put those up on the website as well? Because if you can just grab a blaster, because like I said, I have 30 rapid strikes, like holy crap, that's a lot. What if I put up 5 or 6 rapid strikes and make it, a viable price, so that way you're not getting charged $50 for a rapid strike or something stupid like that. You buy a rapid strike and then you're like, well, wait a minute, let me buy a flywheel cage, let me buy some flywheels, let me buy an XT60 or something like that. Let me just get all this stuff while I'm here. Why not? It's all in one place. I'm not expecting to have
deal.
But it was mostly a way for me to, if I'm still doing the thrifting like I do, and I have very particular blasters that I know I can keep an eye out for people that are looking for them, I can just grab them and just throw them in the shop and be like, hey, if you need something, just go to the shop, just grab it from there. And then I can grab, again, just have parts. So if you need specific parts to go along with it, again, you're just getting it from one place. And it was just an idea that I've had for a long time, and I wouldn't mind doing it. But it's a slow process. You have to sort of build up the back end. You have to figure out how to do certain things. How are you going to keep your booking taken care of, and making sure like you do your orders right and stuff. So
what % of the way to making this a reality would you say we are?
Oh, this is still very early.
Early.
It's still just the planning, because I've been reaching out. I was actually talking to Michelle a little bit about like, what was it like? What are some things I should look out for? How would I go into ordering this? And I remember Addie actually told me when I was talking to them about it. I said, I don't want to do this for like making tons of profit. I don't look at this as like a business that's here to make me money. I just want the ability, one, for myself. I'll be honest, I'm selfish. I want this for me. But but the reality is like I hate having to order from so many places. It's really ridiculous. And I'll be honest, I bought out a lot of stuff from Foam Blast when they shut down. I bought out a lot of stuff. If you couldn't get something from Foam Blast, I'm sorry, that was probably me. But it was probably me. But I like the idea of being able to, if I have to grab something, because on stream it's really nice when we come up with a great idea, I want to just grab the parts and just start working. I hate having to think about like,
firsthand.
And I just do that. I just start grabbing parts and I just start slapping stuff together. I love having that workflow because it prevents me from slowing down. But the other thing is, if I can also make it easy, because if I inspire somebody to want to go and build the same thing, like say that Recon, somebody wants to build that. Well, hey, instead of having to buy from 3 or 4 separate locations to get the same thing, just go to the shop and you can just buy these, right? I just get it from one location.
Yeah. it's
not
also just
waste your time.
it's an accessibility thing as well because while there are a lot of great minds in the hobby, not everyone has access to a lathe at their school or knows about all these things you can do in CAD and 3D printing. So going to a website and just being able to buy a worker part or something that was that they
Yeah.
offered printed, it just from one place where you can still get a blaster even if you want to. It just creates more of an accessibility and in turn could even help the hobby grow from that because they see, oh, I can just get this, 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 and this, and people would say, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's too easy. Like we have to do this." And it's like, well, maybe, but
Yeah.
it's like it's fun. They're just trying to get into something, and it helps the hobby grow, which is what at the end of the day I think we all want.
Well, like I like I said, I was talking with Addie about it, and Addie mentioned you're getting into it with the right mindset because you're not trying to get into this to make money.
Mm,
You're just getting into it to make it accessible.
yeah,
And I said, yeah, exactly. I don't care about that side of it because it's sort of an afterthought. Because like even with everything I do and all the stuff, like I'm barely breaking even with everything I do. I'm barely breaking even if I'm even lucky. A lot of times I'm in the hole a little bit, and it's just I feel that we see a lot of young people get into this hobby, right? We see a lot of people who are even young adults who are in this, like in their early 20s, mid 20s. And sometimes this hobby can inspire them to shift in life or shift in their skill sets or make a decision on where they're going to want to go to school or what they want to learn or whatever. And obviously we see people like Taffy, who's already got a patented toy and is still in college.
yeah. That's a big deal for the hobby too.
That's massive. We like people. I think people. There's a disconnect of thinking that there is a corporation who makes these toys, and then there's the hobby. But in reality, there are people in the hobby who get into working for those companies to make those toys.
Yeah,
And yeah, their hands might be tied on a lot of things, right? Like how it's
Yeah.
produced or what gets removed or what gets canned. Like, they don't really
Yeah.
have total say in that, but they are hobbyists themselves, a lot of
heart.
them previously. And they just have to be quiet, unfortunately. They're not allowed to talk about this under NDAs or under whatever.
Yeah.
And we had that insight from people like Blasterface, where he's like, yeah, these people absolutely are like hobbyists. They love building this stuff.
Yeah.
They love like the cool stuff like that we do in the hobby as well.
And this is also something that I had never put any thought into until I started watching you. Is like there are people in the hobby that may be working as designers, they may be working in the factory, putting them together. And I never had that idea until I started watching you, and I really appreciate for like giving me that sort of perspective.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's just I think it's understanding there's a human behind that.
yeah,
There's always a human behind it.
an example is when Band Blasters designed from doing all my research right now with NSI and Siren, and you mentioning during a stream, Band Blasters designed the flywheel setup in the Siren. I believe it's the flywheel one. He designed that, and then
Yeah.
they just built something around it. And sadly, maybe they cheaped on parts, or it was just an
Yeah.
ergonomic nightmare. And that's not his fault, but it's still the fact that they reached out to him and they used his design, which is really big. It's just their fault they didn't really execute it.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with the all three of them. So all the two springers and the flywheel were all designed. All internals were designed by him. And
okay.
yeah, he did all of them. And he said he tries very hard to make sure that it's good, and then he just kind of sent it off. And then the shells were designed by somebody else, so they built around these.
Mhm.
But then once it goes through so many hands, and then it goes down to like the manufacturing, and they'll even say, "Nah, we don't need that part," and they'll remove this, or we don't need that screw, and they remove that. And so every single person along the way is trying to see where they can scrimp and save a little bit of money for themselves, even down to the manufacturing facility. They will also try to see like, we'll charge them this much, but we're going to remove this screw because it's going to save us this much money. And then it gets out to the market and the thing doesn't work, or the thing performs like garbage, or it falls apart, or whatever. And it's
next
like,
thing you know, you got a barrel lodged in the back of your head.
you're right. Yeah, you get tagged by a barrel. Like, and it's frustrating because somebody like him will take the blame for this. And I learned this the hard way myself. I did this, unfortunately, to another designer because I thought it was the designer who did this, but then I found out it was actually a shop that did it. And I felt really bad because I talked about it and I talked to that designer and I was like, okay, so there was a miscommunication between you and a shop.
Yeah.
The shop is using old files. You've already updated it, but they're not actually using it yet. And like the shop even made suggestions or requests of the designer to change something, which personally to me, I was like, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. And I felt really bad. It even was a realization to me, like, I need to be more aware of this and aware that the way that I come off and the way that I look at these things and the designers are doing their best to create something really fun and cool. Yeah. And unfortunately, along the way of that design making its way into my hands, a lot of other people may have touched it or done something to it. And it is not the designer's fault. It is 100% not the designer's fault. They tried their absolute best. And if you're going to put blame, you have to go back to the company first, because there are so many people along that path before you get to the designer that's way off in the distance. You should not give them that, like, that kind of unfortunate criticism that they didn't really deserve.
Yeah.
Because again, their hands are tied. They once they hand it over, it's no longer theirs and they can't do anything about it. Even if they make a suggestion like, no, you cannot do this, and the corporation just goes, we're gonna, because money, like,
Yeah.
you can't really blame them for that.
Yeah, at the end of the, and it's valid for like the smaller shops we have in the hobby as well. At the end of the day, you gotta, you have to make money and you have to pay your way. So it's not even like it's an invalid thing. It's just for the consumer, a lot of stuff ends up being unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that is a very good idea that you have. I hope one day we're able to see it come to fruition. And I think
Thank you.
After all this, I think we finally reached the end of our interview. I'm not sure how long we went for, but this would be
I have no idea.
This would be a good video for someone to have on the background, just listen to us ramble.
Right.
But
I could ramble for a long time. That's why I do 8-hour streams.
Yeah, and I really enjoy coming to those. But
appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm very glad that we were able to chat. I hope to talk more in the future with you. So is there anything that you want to plug or say anything before we cue the outro?
I mean, obviously, I stream over on Twitch every Friday and Saturday from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Pacific time. So, yeah, West Coast, Best Coast. If you want to come over and see the insanity that goes on there, absolutely. If
you want to see him not finish a blaster, go ahead.
Yeah, other than that, nothing else. I guess stay tuned for different types of mods, because I'm getting back into my console modding stuff that I used to do back in the day.
I'll be honest, I didn't want to touch on that, but I thought we'd take up too much time, and then we end up being almost 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, again, I can talk, man. I can totally talk.
Yeah. And I really appreciate all the talking we've done. Of course, though, for him, I'll shout out, of course, FNC. You can follow him on. He has Instagram. He has a Discord server. I'll link down below. We also, of course, Bone Battalion. We have our own Discord server. We have merch now. If you want to, you can donate to the Ko-fi that we have. I haven't uploaded to it in a while, and I apologize that. But if you donate, maybe I'll start uploading again. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again, Vile. I think I'll see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.